Hello to all of you guys. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning to all of viewers right there. And this is Durable Live. And now, Durable speaking here for the vision and mission statement to be shown on air and online. And of course, at this moment, I would like to acknowledge one of the public figure was given me the opportunity to write the vision and mission statement. Of course, this will be revealed. So before the Mapping 101 Thursdays live, let me introduce to you on what the vision mission would mean for most of the people writer. So while we're broadcasting live from Tirpol Basin, Tasmania City, and it's purely streamed via StreamYard. I'll show it on the screen. Vision and mission statements to be revealed right now. Vision statement, it says here, safer, secured, and educated people with skills and world-class service for the greater good of all. That's the vision statement that I have been looking into. Most especially, I'll be gonna look forward to this vision for 5 to 10 or even 20 years from this 2020 and beyond. And of course, there are some sort of mission that says here. First stop, serving people to modern and conventional means. Given that this pandemic disaster have changed everything, modern means of communication such as the Zoom meetings and even 8x8, Facebook Messenger, Viber, and other forms of modern communication that got inspired from, going through these challenges. Conventional means would mean like meetups or likewise that would be involving meeting with the people that are matter to everybody else. And of course, the second mission is to provide adequate knowledge sharing to the people. And yes, that's right. As a civil engineering student, also a producer and editor for Durable Media, Hence, everything have to be valued. And let's give the core values a try. Delta stands for, or Delta and Echo stands for direct and engaging conversations. Alpha and Romeo would mean active and resourceful. Papa would mean patience, perseverance, and persistence. On why I have to pick these core values, this is what I have to believe for. There's a need to educate every citizens on the importance of not only the laws and its implementing rules and regulation, but also for the upcoming vlogs that would contain adventures and even the engaging conversation. That would mean everybody should be inspired. Alpha means acceptance. Uniform means universality and unity, wherein this nation is in need of universality and unity. Lim- Lima would mean the leadership and love of God. In other words, it's dear Paul. November would mean nationalism. Delta and Charlie would mean diligence and courage. Many would wonder like why I'm picking up those letters out of these core values. Simply because Delta Charlie would mean Tasmania City for most residents right here, and let's say nationalism would mean we could do everything that is of nationalistic activities. And of course, Dear God is situated here in the Republic of the Philippines. And as a Filipino citizen, we should be responsible for every action that we must do in accordance to the laws and its implementing and regulations. And of course, later on, while I'm creating another banner for the next session, so please stand by for the Mapping 101 session. And don't forget to tune in to Dear Paul in Focus podcast all over the Facebook Watch, IGTV starting this June 2020, and also on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Anchor.fm, and most podcast providers. And also, don't forget to share Dear Paul 24 on Facebook and also on YouTube. Or should I say, don't forget to like, follow, and share on most social media platforms. And I'll be back at 18:30 for the Mapping 101 session, the first ever tutorial or online tutorial for most of the beginners right here. So please stay tuned. Turbo Live will be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand by. Live session will resume shortly at around 18:30 hours, 6:30 p.m. And this live streaming is provided by StreamYard. And you're still watching Mapping 101 with Dear Paul live. Earlier, the vision and mission statements have been revealed already. If you have missed this vision and mission statement, the replay edition will be available for you. Well, we're back. And of course, there's an update regarding the situation here in the Philippines with regards to COVID-19 pandemic disaster. In this latest bulletin, recently at around 1600 hours 4 p.m. Philippine Standard Time, 20,382 total cases have been recorded. And this includes the additional 634 combined fresh and late cases. And if we're going to divide or to report those fresh and the late cases, fresh cases got into 313 and late cases are at 321. I'll show it to you those statistics that came from the Department of Health, Republic of the Philippines. And of course, don't forget that I'll be going to share some screen and maybe I'll be operating into separate window if warranted. And of course, the COVID-19 pandemic disaster statistics are as follows. And all of the source are coming from the Department of Health. Out of 20,382 total number of cases, if we're going to add those fresh cases and late cases, whereas fresh cases are the test results that are released to patient within the last 3 days, it becomes 313. And late cases, 4 days or more. In this case, 321 cases have been recorded, or late cases rather. To sum it up, 634. Sadly, the base, the Dirpol base nearest region, which is National Capital Region, fresh cases from NCR got into 114, while the late is at 44. And for the 7th region, fresh is at 101 and belated or late cases at 37. Other regions, that includes the region 4A, Bicol, and the rest of the Republic of the Philippines, 97 fresh and 177 late cases got occurred. However, there are some repatriates or those returning overseas Filipinos coming from abroad, solo fresh and 63 late cases got occurred. So you're going to ask on why there's a late case, then I would suggest to listen carefully to the virtual presser earlier coming from the Department of Health. Whereas I have to be careful in releasing some sort of statements, and as such, we have to observe the ethics here. So far, so good for the recoveries here. Additional 95 got recovered, and the total is now at 4,248. And sad to say that 10 additional deaths have been recorded, totaling into 984. On the behalf of Department of Health, as per virtual presser recently, and on the behalf of Dirpol Media, I would like to include those sympathies and prayers to those who have bereaved family and friends of these deceased patients. Hopefully, in this pandemic disaster, everybody would be more careful, and in such pandemic disaster, there would be more recoveries, as the prayer would be like, may they be restored to health soon. And that's it for. Let's go to the Mapping 101 live session in this new normal. There would be a mini session here. I might have to switch into the secondary screen for a better presentation. And it is included in this vision mission statement that I have to start some sort of, let me say, introduction with regards to the Mapping 101, and of course, it's all powered by OpenStreetMap. Basically, for going to use the presentation mode, there are some basic parts of the OpenStreetMap that you would consider. The controls are on the right side of your screen. And of course, let me introduce to you the origin story wherein I got inspired to, create this startup media project called Dear Poultry for Media that would consolidate not only vlogging but also for the online video tutorial and of course blogging and writing and even the live streaming content. Let me show it to you in full screen. The plus and the minus sign are the zoom controls. Apologies for the obstruction that come from the StreamYard logo. And of course, if you could see this icon, then it says show my location. I'll not going to demonstrate it due to privacy and security reasons. But here comes the layering. Of course, for the heads up, this is powered by the nominative rendering system and it's part of a standard layering process. Let me zoom it to you the whole palapala. And as you can see, there are so many features that you could look for. And of course, there are map notes to be checked, also map data and public GPS traces to check whether it's for troubleshooting or more in-depth search for what would it be like for. And yes, we have a cycle map, transport map, and the humanitarian layer mode. But since it's the COVID-19 pandemic disaster, let's pick this humanitarian. There are so many schools, hospitals, and other essential services that are needed to be served. So let's zoom it further in for SM Dasmanias. And unfortunately, there's a technical difficulties. We will go back to the humanitarian layer. For the meantime, there's a cycle map and the transport map. We will be going to check the mapping status for the bicycle lanes here in Washington Place to its cycle map. Of course, there are some sort of bicycle racks here with the box or blue box icon. And for the transportation map, it's shaded already for the bus. But here's the limitation. For the transport map, whereas those rendering for the shared taxi which is supposedly be composed of old-style jeepneys, UV Express, and fixed route tricycle service. Moreover, we are going to do some sort of in-depth transport mapping. I would suggest you to download the OpenStreetMap automatic navigation and direction. In this standard and the humanitarian mode, this one is the Philippine Christian University in Tasmania City. And this the Chavez compound. And let's zoom it in further to Palapala. Unfortunately, there's a technical problem. So we're going to focus here. This one is the hospital, and these two huge buildings are the malls. However, essentials could be the utmost, first and foremost priority. And of course, as you can see, there are some sort of differences, especially for the split and unsplit highway segments. Whereas if you could zoom this in further, most highways in Tasmania City got installed with traffic islands, and so it's considered a divided highway by default. And this page is also split. And as you can see, it's not split. And of course, it's the undivided highway. But if you're going to try to the undivided highway with multiple lanes, here's the safety reminder. You have to keep right at all times. Do not drive in the wrong way in order to avoid head-on collision. If you need to search for the in-depth discussion on the head-on collision avoidance, you may search it over the page of Representative P.D. Barsaga way back on his time as a mayor. That traffic islands could deter head-on collisions and other glaring high beam headlights that got abused already. And so, with the unsplit segments of the roadway, there is a high risk already for the collision. If I could remember this properly, apologies for those who are living in Chea Vista, but as you can see in this mouse pointer, This is a classic example of the dangerous junction that has to be deterred already. And by the way, if you're going to read those subtitles or closed captions, don't forget to switch it on or switch it into closed caption into on for Facebook. But going back to the dangerous junction scenario, as you can see, that kind of a junction or multiple set of junction, also with the pedestrian crossing for the students to head into Immaculate Conception Academy, South Campus or Langkan Campus, way back the pre-COVID-19 pandemic disaster. There are some instances that so many motor vehicles are not stopping for the pedestrians, not even yielding to ongoing traffic. And so, here's the solution. Safety-wise, the city of Tasmania South able to extend it further the traffic island on most parts of Langkaan. So it returns to split segment. The split segment could mean it is properly mapped and validated by OpenStreetMap contributors, including Durpo24 Media. Validation could mean taking a street view imagery that is powered by Mapili. I'll show it to you later, the Mapili imagery. And let's go back to this right side. Here's the map key. As you can see, this shade of the highway, or let me say, the shade of the line, that thick one is the motorway. And the shade of its varying colors are the roadways or highways. This broken line is a track. This one is for bridle way. Bridle way would mean the pathway intended for equestrians. This one is the cycleway, shaded blue, and this one is a footway. This one is for railway, subway, light rail, and tram. These two sets of, wait, let me zoom this in for the accessibility purposes. This shade or these two oh, I got it. The darkened part is the main, and the lighter one is the second. These two would mean cable car and chairlift respectively, and this two would mean light rail and tram respectively. So with the airport runway and taxiway, and these two would mean airport, apron, and the terminal. This line could mean administrative boundary. And these are the land use, residential, common, retail, industrial, commercial, health, lake and reservoir, farm, brownfield, also cemetery, allotments, sports pitch if it's an open one, and the sports center if it's a huge area for sporting event. But sad to say that these areas got into, quarantine areas for the meantime. Nature reserve and the military area. Let me return to this original one. The military area, shaded as this one, see restricted access already. Civilians are strictly forbidden. And of course, the shade on its broken line would mean, or let me say, with white line would mean roads under construction. This one is private and this the destination. More of the examples would mean this one is the expressway under construction or planning for the Cavite Laguna Expressway. And sad to say, this campus access is restricted to students. Hotels would soon to be opened, especially in the modified general community quarantine areas. And of course, if you like to share some sort of map area, you may press the share button. I'll show it to you. There are three options: link or HTML. You may either check this box to include the marker, like the one shown here. Let me point it to Washington Place for this demonstration purpose. JOURI is this one, and the image, you may customize it with these four handles, and you may move with this one. The format could be of PNG, JPEG, SVG, PDF. And the scale would mean you could scale the map into the one by any value that you wish to download at a certain size. If you set it to 1, then it would return into 14,500. And of course, 2 1424 by 1585 pixels could be generated. And if we're going to zoom it in further, oops, I have excessively zoomed in. Once again, if it's 3550, then the dimension would be shown. Maybe the printing would be much better if you reduce the scale into 3550 at the zoom level. Let me exit this full screen. And that means it would be like the 16th zoom level. The 16th zoom level. Of course, you might have wanted to update some sort of places on the OpenStreetMap, or you have spotted an error news entry. So you might need to add a note to the map. Please make sure that you have a duly registered OpenStreetMap user in order to be able to, explain this to other mappers. And as such, you have to move the note somewhere else and then type the information that could be useful. And here's the warning: do not enter any personally identifiable information, not even from the information from copyrighted mapping source, not even from the directory listings. Likewise, as I have said, it has to be coming from the ground. And the accredited sources could be like Mapiliai. And speaking of Mapiliai, I'm going to show it to you later on. But before that, you have some edits that needs to be updated. You might need to zoom it into the place that you wish to edit. Say for example, this the phase 5. There's a dirt path here. And of course, if you wish to edit, press this edit icon or choose these three categories: the ID editor, Patlatch 2, and the Chosom Mercator. If you have installed JOSM editor, you have to make sure that you have the updated Java runtime environment software or the Java developer kit software in order to use the JOSM software that I'm going to demonstrate it later on after the ID editor. And so for the ID editor, it's now opening. And by the way, please take note that you have to read the OpenStreetMap wikis in order to be guided on the editing procedure. Do not misuse any sort of features that might be like emergency features that includes the fire hydrant and of course while the ID editor is opening, let me share this to you. The wonderful story on why I have to map everything, especially if I have some sort of free time. Let me say this one. As far as I know, there are some features that are still missing on the OpenStreetMap. And of course, as I have explained this on the previous episode of WeMap, that is all over the Pista ng Mapa YouTube channel. There are some sort of issues that needs to be resolved, most especially for the bicycle lanes that got deleted and eventually recovered by dear Paul producer editor himself. So there are some sort of misunderstandings. And by the way, the OpenStreetMap Philippines community got stepped in, and I'm very grateful that the stage one resolution got resolved. And now the stage two would mean the community mapping using the drones, and hopefully there would be more trainings for the proper use of the drones in terms of mapping a specific place. Without further ado, let's proceed to the online tutorial for the Mapping 101. As you can see, on the side editor, while the OpenStreetMap ID editor is loading, this one is the panel for feature or setting that needs to be changed. And these are considered the title bar. And of course, this one is to show or hide the panel. And these three icons are to add the point or the node, should I say, the line or the way, and the area segment. And by the way, the way segment could be added only for the line or straight line itself. I'm going to demonstrate it to you without saving this one, the line. As you can see, if you are going to press this one, then you might need to spot the missing segment. But before that, let me move this one. I'll show it to you for demonstration purposes. As you can see, this Maxar imagery is outdated, whereas the plan is to close this portion. Right now, it's closed already. So, you might think it's a missing feature. You might add a line from one end to another. And then, if you're done, double click it. Then you have to select the feature type properly. Say, for example, if you think that it's a roadway, then there are categories to choose for. This one is the road closed. This one is a chunk road. This one is a primary road. This one is unknown. And this one is the tertiary. This one is residential. This one is the unmaintained track road. This one is the minor or unclassified roadway. This one is the service roadway. And in order to be in depth, I'll show it to you what are the major and the minor and the service roads are for. First stop, motorway could sometimes be called motorway, freeway, expressway, depending on the country that you're residing or the language or English variants you're using for. Motorway or freeway or expressways are for long distance routes that are needed to be mapped. Say, for example, the Metro Manila Skyway is still under construction. Then you have to use the road closed render. There are some examples wherein North Luzon, or let me say the expressway routes. Speaking of expressway routes, you have to be careful when mapping those expressways or freeways or motorways, as some ramps or exit or interchange should be mapped as a link or motorway link. Next stop is the trunk road, say major roadway or national highway that links across the Philippine Islands. Primary, secondary, and tertiary roads. For DPWH context, could be like the national primary linking into several towns or cities. Let me show it to you, the road classification coming from the DPWH and the Philippine Statistics Authority. Let me show it to you for the purpose of enlightenment. Let me zoom it to you for the audience sake. National primary would mean it would directly connect the major cities, at least around 100,000 people, and cities within metropolitan areas are not covered by the criteria. Next stop is the national secondary roads. Could be connecting to national primary roads except in metropolitan areas. It would connect into airports, seaports, tourist service centers, cities that are not included in the category of major cities, provincial capitals within the same region, major national government infrastructure, and other national secondary roads. National tertiary would mean roads under DPWH which would perform the local function. Some of you might be wondering on why there would have a provincial roads, municipal and city roads, and barangay roads. Whereas the provincial roads could connect cities and municipalities without traversing through the national roadways, or connecting national roadway to barangays and also major provincial government infrastructure. And if you're watching Dearpod 34 live, Mapping 101 live session. If you're in other countries abroad, it might be very different for your country. So please don't forget to check out the other countries as well. Municipal and city roads are considered local roads. So it could be either secondary or tertiary for the OpenStreetMap in nature. Barangay roads or the local roads, it's either tertiary or unclassified road for OpenStreetMap. Motorways or expressways or freeways could mean see limited access already. It's either be tolled or free. Bypasses would mean roadways that could avoid a built-up areas, town or city proper, so as to reduce the congestion in most cities and municipalities. Right now, admit it or not, there's some sort of problem here in Tasmania City that needs to be resolved. Oops, I have undone the part wherein I should have demonstrated to you. Then, as you can see, you have drawn a line. For some reason, you have either pressed any area that is not supposed to do for the beginners, but for this purpose of demonstration, there's an issue that needs to be solved. Line has no tags error. It's also similar for the OpenStreetMap validation test or the Java OpenStreetMap editor validation test that needs to be checked first before you're going to upload it. So, as you can see, it's more like of a surface road. So, press this one, but beware. This one would connect this sidewalk. So don't forget to connect these two by either pressing the connect features on the issues. And of course, there's a form that you would type it in, name, type, one-way specification, speed limits, surface, and even the covered or the structure and the allowed access. And now you might have to add additional information if necessary, such as the advisory speed limit and others. Now, let's go back to the original. You have seen some sort of missing feature that needs to be mapped, like the cameras or anything. So you might press the point or any infrastructure. Say you have planted another tree, side this roundabout garden, then press this one, a point will be added. Let me type tree and press this one. Type or select any information that is suited from your ground surveying or from Mapillai imagery or from Maxar imagery. And well, as you can see, there are so many houses that are mapped. And if you have spot any missing infrastructure that is supposed to be mapped, buildings or land use areas that needs to be mapped must be press this one. And then apologies for some sort of calibration problems, but I'll teach you this one once on this Mapping 101 live session on how to calibrate the imagery. But for now, for this demonstration purposes, you have to add the missing infrastructure. Say, for example, the tag should be a building always. Unless if you're living in the local area that you have a background knowledge of the building feature. If there are some instances that there are missing buildings on the OpenStreetMap is because there are sort of lack of awareness among the citizens, and if there's something wrong like in this pandemic disaster or even the earthquakes, typhoons, volcanic eruptions, then missing buildings could have a hard time for the rescue groups like the Philippine Red Cross to search and rescue the citizens that are needed, that are in need or badly need of a help. And of course, the local government units are somewhat or fairly aware about the navigation and humanitarian mapping. Going back to the Mapping 101 live session, you're still tuning in on Derpo 24 live. As you can see, there's a disconnect between the OpenStreetMap and the Maxar imagery. In order to calibrate this display or the background, press the background settings. Please make sure that the imagery is set as a background. And if there is an option, if there would be a minimap and detail panel. There are overlays, location over or locator. Correct me if there's wrong or if there's something wrong. There's a display options and the imagery offset. So for the imagery offset to be calibrated properly, you might need to wear eyeglass if you have some sort of difficulties in seeing those vision or difficulties in your vision rather. Then you have to drag this one or manually type this imagery offset values that are in meters. Fit if you're in United States. So let's drag this one. Hopefully there would be no technical difficulties here. Still calibrating. And I think this one is okay. As you can see, it's a negative 5.36 and negative 0.11 for this area. You have to be careful because imagery offset values are different in your area. So please make sure to check it as well. And so there are some sort of, let me say, changes to the feature, but as you can see, you might have to upload it. So before you upload, you have to check for potential errors on the mapping to its in built-in validation for the ID editor. Press the save and then here's a bit of reminder. You have to type in the change set comment that other mappers would see on why you're editing with this feature. And then you have to add some sort of sources. That would mean if it's a if it's imagery, you might consider typing in Bing or Maxar or Mapillai or OpenStreetMap data. And if you're an expert otherwise, You might type it in the extrapolation and your own branding. Tags could be used, but some of them are not editable. Only the change set comment and the sources are to be typed here. And if you wish, you might check this box to let other mappers review the edit. And that's all for this demonstration purposes. Nothing has been uploaded, so let's move on to the Java OpenStreetMap editor when Mapping 101 online tutorial sources will or online tutorial edition will be returned in a few moments. So please stand by. Philippine Standard Time, it's 19:45, 7:45 p.m. Okay, we're back already on the Mapping 101 live session. And of course, I have discussed earlier the ID editor, but how about the features that you're going to have an advanced editing? Say, for example, relations, especially if you're going to map those bus routes, signed highway routes, or signed expressway routes, bicycle routes, and many more without compromising the original highway attribute. Of course, the Java OpenStreetMap editor could handle all of this. And as you can see on the right side of the screen is the Java OpenStreetMap editor. However, for some reason, there's an issue for the OpenStreetMap tile servers that apparently got overloaded. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're very generous enough, please contact the OpenStreetMap Operations Working Group if you can offer a caching server that would resolve those overloading issues of the OpenStreetMap tiles server. Without further ado, let's download the certain area of my choice. And of course, this will not be shown to the public of what I'm going to download. And it's a bit of surprising element. So it is recommended to zoom it into the downloaded area if you're certain that you could edit a feature. Let's go with a full screen. Rendering data set could take some time, so please be patient. As you can see, there's some sort of inspiration behind this online tutorial for the relation or relations to be mapped. There are the basic ones like layers, tags or memberships, selection, relations. Let me show it to you. Authors, conflict, validation results, and even more. Say for example, let me zoom it in to the bridge here in Navotas River. And as you can see, this portion is a boundary already of the cities of Caloocan and Navotas. And as you can see, this one is also a boundary for cities of Caloocan, and Navotas. I have to turn off the imagery for advanced editing purposes, but let me select this expressway under or elevated expressway under construction. That means to say that it's signed as E5, which is the NLEX segment 10. I'll open the edit in order for you to have an idea. And as you can see, this focus on the center of the screen, and I'll resize the window in order not to obstruct with the lower thirds. And of course, there are key parts of the relation. Say, for example, that tag of type. It could be either restriction, route, multi-polygon, and even other complex editing practices that needed to be mapped out. Another example for the multi-polygon relations are the single mall in Dasmania City called SM City Dasmanias. There are 3 buildings. Technically, they are interconnected already by the engineering and construction practices. So to avoid some sort of overlapping issues with 2 or more ways or lines that are actually combined, that would lead into some sort of clutter. And in my experience, I'll going to advise you to choose the relations in order to map the multi-polygonal features properly. Multi-polygonal features would mean the land use areas, buildings, and other infrastructures that are needed to be mapped. But here's the catch. You have to supply the required information in order for the relation or route relation, multi-polygon relation, restriction relation to be worked properly on most rendering, especially in terms of navigation and humanitarian purposes. OpenStreetMap automatic navigation and direction, or also known as OSMAND, could be downloadable, but there are some sort of certain subscription fees that you could apply for, and part of the subscription goes back to the contributors. And of course, in this mapping session. For demonstration purposes only, the reference code is at E5 Echo 5 network name and even the route. Other key features that are needed to be mapped. And many of you are asking, why there is a bus route rationalization here in the Philippines? Well, as you can see, after this COVID-19 pandemic disaster that got strike the whole country, coupled with the suspension of public transportation, land transportation, franchising, and regulatory board have decided to change the city bus routing system into the rationalized route so as to avoid some sort of punching into the single corridor, which is part of the Philippine Highway 1 AH-26 4th Circumferential Road, also known as the Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, or EDSA. And several buses in the single corridor could cause unwarranted congestion already. Not only for buses, but also for private vehicles. And the main cause of this horrendous congestion is this: bunching of buses coupled with reckless driving, inefficient dispatching. Some would you say they have evaded the dispatching system in order to continue on journey on whether they would like. That's causing the tardiness of most of our dear students, workers, and even officials that are commuting. So, this has to be stopped with the modernization program that are needed right now. And so, I'm going to demo it to you, the rationalized bus route. Let me download the Parañaque City Integrated Terminal Exchange. And it may take some time to download depending on the internet connection speed. If it's too slow, then the downloading times could take up to 30 seconds to an hour. But if you're in the fiber optic and your laptop and computer is very well maintained, it would be much faster. So with the Parañaque City Integrated Terminal Exchange, there are certain bus routes that got rationalized, and it becomes a bus interchange for most city bus routes. And so let me type it in: city bus route. In this demonstration, city bus route. City bus route 2 got map already. And also city bus route 18, which stands for Pitex Naya Loop. Papa India Tango X-ray November Alpha India Alpha Loop. City bus routes got map also for Alabang to Pitex leg, Naik to Pitex leg, Tasma pala to Pitex leg, General Mariano Alvarez to Pitex leg, and even Cavite City to Pitex leg, which stands for, well, sa 24, 26, 28, and 29 respectively. As you can see, you have spotted one missing bus route. If you're going to review this one, the city bus route 27 is missing. If you could spot those deactivated bus routes that are shaded as grayed out, or let me pick this one as a candidate for removal of the old city bus route. Also, if you're going to edit the whole relation, don't forget to download it first to ensure that there would be an error-free editing. Let me remove the color. Let me replace this with City Bus Route 27. And I have replaced it with Trece Martes. Route it's still on bus. Let me replace it into Trece Martes. And let me double check with the source, which is coming from the Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board on the route mapping. And if you need to see the route map, I'll show it to you just for some sort of couple of seconds. Well, as you can see before, there's horrendous congestion already in the whole vicinity of Palapala, and it serves as a choke point already. Errant commuters, errant pedestrians, errant cyclists, errant motorcyclists, errant motor vehicle drivers caught misbehaving, especially in the signal light. cause some sort of safety hazards already. And the practice of illegal loading and unloading on before the stop line of any signal light would contribute to the unwanted congestion or delay already. And it creates some sort of safety issues. That's why there's a need for some sort of non-contact apprehension here in Tasmania City while the rationalization is ongoing. And here's one thing. Rationalized bus transit map. I'm going to show it to you in a few moments. So let me zoom it in further. To the level to 20th level. As you can see, the Paranaque Integrated Terminal Exchange is shown. Let me zoom it in further into the 50th level. Well, as you can see, there are the following route numbers: Echo 2, 18, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Most of the commuters would be like, are we going to transfer to another bus route? Sounds inconvenient for many of the commuters, but congestion reduction has to be persistent in the post-COVID-19 pandemic disaster first wave. And of course, with this mapping session, let me switch into the Java's OpenStreetMap editor. Hopefully, there would be wheelchair access. I assume that it's yes, but for some reason, there's no wheelchair accessibility. And so, let me type in the 27 for this purpose, and then there's something that needs to be removed. So first up, let's check with the bus route line for 27. From Paranaque Integrated Terminal Exchange, several bus lines running into Cavite, lines 30, 29, 28, and 27, if I'm sure about this one. But most of the expressway experience could be at the bus route 30 if you're heading to Cavite City. And then Lines 29, 28, and even 27 and 26 got split off. This one is 30. This one is 29 and 28. Nope, 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 nope. 29 on green, 28 on blue, or bluish color. And let me zoom it out further to avoid some sort of confusion here. 30 stands for Cavite City, 29 for General Alvarez, 28 for Dasmariñas Padapala, 27 and 26 could be sure that it's the western parts of Cavite. 27 could be Terce Martyrs City, and 26 for Naik. I know that our partner photographer JRMV Photoworks could travel to bus route 26 if he decided to commute to Metro Manila. But buses 26 and 27 could pass through Bacoor City. And it's not a shortcut anymore. Except if you're a provincial bus that you need to be into point-to-point bus operation. As provincial buses could either be downscaled or upgraded otherwise rather into point-to-point and city mode. If it's a point-to-point, then it's much better. But for the city buses, then it would be like, excuse me please, it would be like a, an added commuting experience with some sort of a stop. And so, with the continuation of the mapping, until they're on a interchange which is close to SM Bacoor, or there are two options here. I'm not sure if the bus routes 26 and 27 would either pass through Baco or use the Eco 3 or the route for the Manila Cavite Expressway or Cavitex. But to make sure of it, I'll use the Bacoor City as an example. Let me return it to you to the OpenStreetMap. You're still tuning in to Mapping 101 live online session with Dear Paul, and it's on tutorial mode. From Tirona Interchange, you have to veer away from the usual Highway 62, or let me say, veer away from the stretch of the Cavite Batangas Road, which is assigned as Highway 62 for Bacoor City, Highway 419 for Bacoor to Dasmariñas, and 410 for Silang to Tagaytay roundabout interchange, also known as Rotonda in our local dialect. By the way, if you're going to learn for some sort of our local dialect, just visit philtalk.net and sign up right there. And of course, going back to the relation route, I'm trying to extract some sort of um, the highway routing, and as you can see, there are some sort of difficulties that I might face. This one is 419 already. Oops. This one is 62. This one is 419. We could assume that it would be safely deleted for the old routing. To make sure that you're going to map the continuity, don't forget to do the right click and then press zoom to. And don't forget to re-download the area of responsibility that you wish to edit. And unfortunately, there are some sort of technical difficulties for the Java OpenStreetMap. Oh my goodness me. I have pressed the wrong icon. It has to be the download icon. Let me download the stretch of Highway 62, aka Daniel Tirona Highway. Hopefully, there would be no errors here. Okay, it continued editing, or downloading rather. And of course, the bus route has been restored into Peri extension of the Manila Cavite Expressway. The old name Coastal Road has been termed for cafeterias or passing right through stretch of the expressway. The old terminus, which is at Bacoor City, that once it becomes a sharp left, have become an interchange already in order to accommodate the extension all the way to Kawit. But you know why? The future Cavite Laguna Expressway will soon be linked from Kawit all the way to Laguna via Silang and General Trias. As of now, Cavite Laguna Expressway only functioned from Santa Rosa Tagaytay interchange close to Nuvali and the police camp, and of course if you could look into the drone shot, the whole camp got blurred for security purposes. And yes, of course, you're still tuning in to Dirpo 24's Mapping 101 online session wherein you could learn something on the editing of the map. So let's continue the editing. Let me type it in Bacoor into the via value. And also continue with the mapping. From here, don't forget to follow the line. If you're going to select multiple lines, you have to press the shift. I'm pressing the shift right now and then click, click, and then click. Then add. But here's the warning. You have to be careful on the line. If it's not cut, so far so good. If this happens, you have to check once again. Then there's a node for the, let me say, stop position rather, for the buses to stop properly for the bus stop. Let me continue with this map. Don't forget to hold shift, then click drag if necessary, then shift, then click. Okay, we got it. The whole stretch got mapped already. And the rest of the Highway 62 in Bacoor City, also known as Daniel Tirona Highway. Don't forget, click, then hold shift, then click, and there you go. Drag if necessary, or if you're experiencing some sort of difficulty, just click on the last entry, right click, and then zoom to. Then don't forget to drag into the last part, then zoom it in, plus sign if you're into keyboard. Then click, hold shift, then click, drag once again, hold shift, then click. But beware, you have to map it carefully. All buses would veer to the right as Covelancha Road. Download missing items if necessary. So far, so good. It's okay. Click and then hold shift click. Zoom it in if necessary. Then hold shift then click. You're still on Covelanja. Hold shift then click. And we're now on Highway 64, also known as the Antero Soriano Highway, Centennial Highway, as the nickname suggests. And it becomes undivided highway. Now here's that you might need to compare with. In some cases, you have to save it first, the route relation rather. Then click on this one, the Centennial Highway, or double click if necessary. Then look for the route relations. In case of needing a duplicates or some sort of transfer from or copying one relation to another, you might need to open into a separate window. And so for this demonstration purposes and the actuality, you might need to download the whole relation. And don't forget that you might need to use the fix me on most cases. X mode is needed on most bus routes. As ordinary description of the colors such as yellow or blue or anything would cause a mismatch. Once again, double click on the end, check from here, scroll if necessary. Hmm. Let me stop in here. Press this one for the selected relation members to be copied. Then press this one on the left side. That's it. Then double click this page. Don't forget to save first. Let me download the or zoom into the bridge. Oh, we're closer to Tansap Junction. And of course, let's safely close this one. Then you know the drill for this online tutorial. And of course, this live stream is powered by StreamYard. Thank you very much for giving out those free streaming to those people who might need it. You know the drill. Hold shift and click, then drag. Drag if necessary. Then be careful of the split. Hold shift and click. Keep right always. Hold shift and click. Hold shift and click. And the bus turns left. Hold shift and click. Hold shift and click. Technically, it's on Tansates Martyrs Road. Hold shift and click. Hold shift and click. Oops, there are missing relations. Add it into the left side relation, then save. Download missing relations if necessary. Maybe it's, let me say, from the provincial bus relation. By text to Indang, which is via Tansta and Trece Martes. Let me open this one. Don't forget that it's on the right side. Oh my goodness me. There's something wrong here. Maybe if you spot this problematic relation, such as the duplicated entry like this one, press the bin or trash bin icon to delete, then it's resolved. This one has to be erased. And duplicate has to be removed always. Or retained on a case-to-case basis. We're now on the second hour and 31 seconds of this programming. So let me finish this online tutorial. And of course, don't forget to double click the last one. TSM Martes Road, Tansa to TSM Martes Road. Then, done. Another question. Do we need a bus terminal for the city? My response as a civil engineering student is yes. Yes, because off-street terminals could prevent congestion on the highways and even most of the commuting public that needs a sidewalk or walkable space to or from the malls, markets, and even essential services that are needed right now. And to avoid some sort of inconvenience brought about by the illegal terminal, the national government have directed the clearing operation or delegated rather the clearing operation into the local government units that are very responsible with. And of course, going back to the mapping session, let me show it to you the, what to call this. By the way, if you're still watching here, thank you very much for the like and the heart. Mapbex got reacted with a heart, and one like has been pressed. And so, to continue with this mapping 101 session, don't forget to map out the bus stop. Of course, missing bus stop alert. You have to map from Gahak all the way to Robinson's Place, General Trias, and then copy it into here after that. Terona interchange. Anyways, Terona interchange could be interchangeable with the bus stops 28. Anyways, here's the shout out session. Makay. Shout out to Makahai Senget Ko from India. Thank you very much for watching in. Going back to the Mapping 101 session, you have to be careful on the bus stop. As you can see, the bus stop and the platform has to be mapped in accordance to the PTV2 guidelines over the OpenStreetMap. I have saw some of the errant mappers not following the directions with the Papa Tango Victor 2 guidelines or PTV2, and of course this would cause some sort of inconvenience that would generate. Of course, let me warrant this one. Let's let's extend all over to Korea Philippines Friendship Hospital. I'm not yet 100% sure if this would be like extended. Let me hide this one. Don't you worry, it's hidden under the lower thirds. Let me scroll this to. Wait. The highway becomes 13 RTS to Indang. Okay. Let me show it again for you guys. Press the bottommost part to be added. And okay. That concludes the Mapping 101 session. Of course, you might want to validate. Press the upload button to check. It may take a while to validate it, so please be patient. While on the validation result, let me share this to you guys wherein it's a very good experience for all of us engineers and mappers alike to map everything, including the bus routes with the route relation that I have been demoed in for the public to know on what's happening right here. So hopefully this mapping 101 session concluded with a great experience that I am presenting to you. And as such, there's a good chance that mapping mistakes could be prevented if we're going to validate it first, prior to uploading it over the OpenStreetMap. And since the validation takes too long, there would be a short random stories to share. Tomorrow for live session. Apologies for some sort of interruption, but for tomorrow, 23rd episode, viewing experiences that I have to share it with you. And there would be a subtitle that says, "Don't follow too close." So what does it mean? It's a new normal, guys, and you have to find it out what will be going to happen. So the validation still taking too long. Hopefully the validation window would appear on time until 2055. Otherwise, it would get cut short for 5 minutes before the next program to be shared all over the repository for FB page. And yes, of course, the report base is still online to serve you better, especially in these trying times to beat COVID-19 pandemic disaster, coupled with the bus route rationalization. And it's a big challenge for all of us, mappers alike. There's a GitHub entry from Gowin that says mapping out the pop-up bicycle lanes somewhere in Pasig City and San Juan City. And also in a certain town in Rizal province. Don't you worry if the window gets on the flashing orange mode, then it's now validated already. And I do apologize for some sort of technical errors or potential bloopers that might cause some sort of problematic experience. I don't like to repeat the same experience with the BBC report wherein there's a kid disrupting the interview. Oh my goodness me, and even the adulting with Joyce paying shot of Sanity Life broadcast wherein, oh my goodness me, Brother Aaron at they got freaked out because Brother One Joe got into sudden entry with the DSLR camera and as such. Spouses Stephen, you have to say this all over the live stream. Hopefully, so I could meet you or better yet, interview you for several or future edition of Dear Paul 34 live session. And that concludes the Mapping 101 live session with Dear Paul 34. Don't forget to tune in to Dear Paul 34 in Focus tomorrow live on Facebook Watch. Replays on IGTV, YouTube, and audio edition on Spotify, iTunes, and Anchor.fm and most podcast providers. So let's flash it over the screen. Validation results would mean there's a warning already for the editors to fix if possible. Oh my goodness me. Route relation contains a cap. Unnecessary layering are going to fix the gap on the offline edition. So thank you very much for watching Drupal 34. And of course, I'll show it to you the live session. Of course, the two password relations got edited. Don't forget to visit OpenStreetMap.org for the latest information or mapping information. And that's it. See you guys tomorrow for the Dear Portrait for In Focus live edition.